What's up, world? I'm Cameron McKinney, and this is Pop Culture Spotlight, a podcast about the movie Reality. Here's a quick synopsis. Reality winner, a government contractor, is being interrogated by the FBI for possibly leaking NSA documents to the public. The film stars Sydney Sweeny, Josh Hamilton, and Marshawn Davis. Standout performances. Sydney Sweeny has become a big name after starring in two of the most popular recent television shows. Euphoria as Cassie, Maddie's best friend who has relationship issues to say the least, and the first season of The White Lotus as Olivia, who because of her privilege likes to take things from other people. At one point, she tries to take a guy from her best friend. Both shows are on HBO, and for them, she has received Emmy nominations. Before now, she only had a small presence in movies, appearing in supporting roles in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a film that had other future young stars in it, Maya Hawke and Austin Butler, where Sweeny played a member of the Manson family, and the movie Big Time Adolescence with Pete Davidson and Griffin Gluck. Reality is her first time big leading role, and she delivers an outstanding performance in it. She is playing Reality winner. Yes, that's her real name. In the film, she is playing someone who is nervous to talk to the FBI but has to remain calm as well. Reality in the movie is portrayed as someone who has an aw shucks attitude, like somebody who you think they could never do anything wrong. She's trying to persuade the FBI that she is not capable of doing anything bad. And I thought that was an interesting balancing act for Sweeny to portray somebody who is both super smart but is trying to come off as simple at the same time. Sweeny has a lot of movies on the way. Anyone But You, a romantic comedy with Glenn Powell that has got a lot of media coverage, Americana with Paul Walter Hauser and Halsey, Madam Web with Dakota Johnson, and a remake of the movie Barbarella, a film that starred Jane Fonda. The one that I'm most curious about is Madam Web. I get it why young actors want to be in these superhero movies because they pay well and they are enormously popular, but I don't understand why Sweeny is joining Sony's Spider-Man universe instead of the MCU. These non-Spider-Man movies have been hit and miss and includes two okay Venom movies and the disaster that was Morbius. Kraven the Hunter is also getting a movie starring Aaron Taylor Johnson. My fear is that Sydney Sweeny is joining the comic book movie universe during its downfall. Sweeny working with Dakota Johnson is a good idea, but in Madam Web, I have no idea what the Madam Web movie is going to be. I watched Madam Web in the Spider-Man animated series when I was growing up. That was a small side character in a really good animated show. I have no idea what that movie is about. I hope for Sweeny's sakes it ends up being high quality. The show that made Sydney Sweeny a big name, Euphoria, may not be returning until 2025, but in the meantime, its show stars are becoming bigger names in movies. Jacob Elordi is going to play Elvis in a Sofia Coppola movie and is in the next movie Sunburn from promising young woman director Emerald Fennell with Barry Keoghan. Zendaya, of course, has Dune Part 2 with Timothée Chalamet, Austin Butler, and Florence Pugh, a potential fourth Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, and Challengers, the next movie from Luca Guadagnino with Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor. Austin Abrams has been cast in Wolves from Spider-Man No Way Home director John Watts with Brad Pitt and George Clooney, and will star in the movie In the Line with Alex Wolff and Halle Bailey. Hunter Schafer will star in Cuckoo with Dan Stevens and Jessica Henwick, and has been cast in David Lowery's next movie Mother Mary with Anne Hathaway. She also has a part in the Hunger Games prequel The Ballad of Songbirds and Snake with Rachel Zegler, and will play a supporting role in And, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos with Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. Euphoria's popularity cannot be overstated. Like, these actors are getting these opportunities to work with these great directors because of that show. That show is so well acted and stylish, and I believe every one of the actors I just referenced have a chance to be major movie stars. And I think that's what's so fascinating about the era we are living in. In the before times, you became a movie star after starring in a hit movie. The movie would come out, like Julia Roberts with Pretty Woman. That movie cemented her as an all-time great movie star. Like, she was given every opportunity to work with great directors like Steven Spielberg. Now, what's making people movie stars are these hit TV shows like Zendaya in Euphoria and Sydney Sweeny in Euphoria. That show has given them these opportunities to work with these great filmmakers and to be given these great opportunities to be leads. You're seeing it with Jenna Ortega in Wednesday. That show has given her the opportunity to be the leads of movies. All the young cast of Stranger Things have been given movies off of the popularity of that show. Like, TV is creating the new generation of movie stars, and some of them will not work out. They'll have small runs, but a few of them are going to hit and last a while. Like, it feels like Maya Hawke is going to be somebody we're going to be talking about for a long time because she can really act. I feel the same way about Zendaya. Like, I feel like she's going to be here for a while. I feel like Sydney Sweeny has that potential if one of these projects outside of Euphoria really hits. Like, I feel like Reality proves she can lead a really good, well-made movie. I have no idea how popular Reality is going to end up being for her. I hear people all the time talk about how there are a lack of new young movie stars. I feel like the people coming from these shows, Stranger Things, Euphoria, you can even add White Lotus to that, these people are the next wave of movie stars. The show Wednesday, for all we know, could be producing that next wave of mega movie stars. Jenna Ortega is going to be given every chance to become a mega star. She's in Beetlejuice 2. I believe Sydney Sweeny is going to be given every chance to be one of that next wave of movie stars. The question shouldn't be, will we have young movie stars? These shows are producing movie stars. Like, these people are given opportunities to lead movies. The real question is, what is the sustainability of the people coming from these shows? Will they have the longevity? And I think they will, based on the directors that are working with them. Like, the cast of Euphoria is working with directors like Luca Guadagnino and Yorgos Lanthimos. That's how you have longevity in movies. You work with the best directors, and every single thing you do is decent. It doesn't all have to be popular, but it all has to be pretty good. And that's why for Sydney Sweeny, I look at something like Madam Web as a bit of a risk, because yes, if that becomes popular, she ends up winning in the end because she's a part of that project. Maybe she's the best thing in that movie. Maybe she's even better than Dakota Johnson, but the risk is that is not a well-known property. Like, Madam Web is not Spider-Man. It's just closely associated with it, and if that movie ends up being just as bad as Morbius, this could end up being a disaster for the future movie career of Sydney Sweeny. I look at that project and I do believe it is a major risk. I think the romantic comedy with Glenn Powell will probably be a medium hit. She's banking on Madam Web being good, and I have no idea if it's going to be or not. It's going to be one of the most fascinating movies to come out because it has a good cast. It has Dakota Johnson. It has Sydney Sweeny. Emma Roberts is in that movie. I have no idea what that's going to be. But I do believe it's either going to be looked at as one of the great successes of Sydney Sweeney's career or one of the great disasters. One of Sweeney's co-stars in Reality is Josh Hamilton, an actor best known for his work in indies. He was one of the stars of Noah Baumbach's first film, Kicking and Screaming, a film about college graduates who struggle to move on. He was also in Bo Burnham's 8th Grade, one of the best movies that explore the damage social media can do to a young person. In reality, he's playing an FBI agent who is trying to get Reality to confess to sharing classified documents and is trying to come across as harmless. He's trying to connect to her by taking an interest in her dogs. I truly believe how you view this character will determine how you feel about this movie. I looked at him as manipulative. I looked at him as doing something that was trying to get her to confess that wasn't okay. Like, I looked at that character as trying to come across as friendly, but really he was just faking it. Like, I looked at that character as fake. I'm sure other people will look at this guy as somebody who is just doing his job. Again, I believe how you view this character will determine how you feel about this movie and how you feel about Reality Winner. Hamilton will next appear in the movie Tonight at Noon with Chiwetel Ejiofor. Reality is a movie about whistleblowing, something that a lot of people are fascinated by, but few people agree on. Some say whistleblowers are heroic for giving the public information they never would have gotten. Some would deem them as traitors. This is a subject matter that isn't black or white. It's complicated, and that's what makes it a great topic for movies, and you've seen a lot lately. Joseph Gordon-Levitt played Edward Snowden. Benedict Cumberbatch played Julian Assange. You also had The Insider from Michael Mann. There's a scene in Reality where Josh Hamilton's character is telling Reality he knows she's no Snowden, and obviously he means that in a good way, but spoiler alert, the information that Reality leaked was about the Russians' interference in the 2016 presidential election, information that one would think is important for the public to know. It's nearly impossible to walk away from this movie and not see that what Reality was doing was coming from a good place, and this is someone who risked her future career for the truth to come out. To me, that is noble. I highly doubt we as a society will ever come to a consensus about whistleblowing. Reality herself is still under house arrest. Movies like Reality will get people to think about the fact that maybe whistleblowers aren't the problem, they are part of the solution. I also think it's impossible to know how to feel about a whistleblower in the moment because you don't really get a full grasp on the situation until years and years go by. Like, even this situation isn't even decades old. We don't know how we should really feel about Reality Winner. I look at a movie like All the President's Men. We look at that whistleblower and what he said about Watergate, and yes, we feel good about that because Watergate is something we are so far removed from. We knew that entire situation was bad. The 2016 presidential election isn't even decade old yet. That's why we can have complicated feelings about it. We don't know how to fully grasp that entire situation. Not enough time has passed. The same thing with Edward Snowden. He's too much of a modern figure to fully understand what's going on there. I think decades from now, we might all feel very differently about him as a person. One thing I really admired about Reality as a movie is how the conversations between Reality and the FBI felt natural. They used the actual dialogue, which was the right decision. We all know in the hands of many other filmmakers, this movie would feel way more over the top and theatrical. And yeah, that version of the movie would be super entertaining, but I like this version of the film that lets the small talk happen, because that's all this was a conversation between three people that had a lot at stake, but they don't go right into it, and that's what I loved. I love the smallness of the movie. Yes, we all love big moments like Jack Nicholson saying you can't handle the truth in court in A Few Good Men, but does that moment really feel honest to real life all the time? No, and because Reality is based on something real, it made sense that the movie went word for word to what actually happened. To the movie's credit, I also didn't feel like the movie was trying to make you feel like Reality Winner was some mega hero either. Like, I felt like they just tried to make her a human being who made a decision because of the way she felt about what was going on in the country she was living in. Another way to put it, the movie felt understated in the best way. They never barely mentioned the name Donald Trump, and I think that was key to this movie being something you could really enjoy, because they didn't really get into the mega issues. They got into the human side of why reality did what reality did. She was sick and tired of watching the TV and hearing a bunch of nonsense she knew wasn't true, and that's a very honest thing. If you know someone is lying, you're bound to do something about it if you are a decent person. The movie is a character study as much as it is about the whistleblowing itself. There was one moment in the movie I was super interested in when one of the FBI agents, played by Josh Hamilton, asked Sydney Sweeney's reality if she was surprised that the FBI came to her house that day, and she said yes, she thought it was about something else, about her clearance. And I wonder if that was real naivete on the character, if she wasn't surprised by the situation because she was acting super normal. I think she just did something because she thought it was the right thing to do. I don't believe it was some grand gesture to make herself a hero or to make a super big difference. She was just thinking, this is the right thing to do. People need to know what is actually going on. This movie will also have you wondering, would the information reality leaked ever had come to the public's knowledge in the first place, or did she have to do it for us to find this out about the 2016 presidential election? And those questions are impossible to answer. Maybe we would have figured it out when it was too late. Maybe her leaking this information is a part of the reason why Trump lost the 2020 election. Like, these are big questions that we still don't have all the answers to, because again, this is a recent event that occurred. This isn't even a decade old. Overall, reality is a great showcase for Sweeny as a performer. I'm not sure this is going to end up being as popular as Euphoria or The White Lotus, but I think it showed she had the potential to be a perennial leading actress. It's also worth noting that it's her first adult role. She's not playing a teenager in Euphoria or The White Lotus. I think she's making that leap way faster than other people had in the past. Like, Zendaya was playing a teenager way longer than Sydney Sweeny. Like, Zendaya was in the Disney Channel shows. She's still playing a teenager in Euphoria. Sydney Sweeny is making that leap immediately, and I'm interested in that, how she's able to make that leap. And I think playing this real person was the right choice to do, because she doesn't want to be playing a teenager for the next 5 years, which is something that has happened to many people in Hollywood. I am really interested to see where Sydney Sweeney's career goes from here, because when I was first watching Euphoria, it felt like the anointing of Zendaya as the next big star, and we weren't really paying attention to Sydney Sweeny, and she's just been quietly doing her thing. I mean, she showed up on The White Lotus and you were like, wow. And then season 2 of Euphoria, she was double Emmy nominated for both of those shows. She feels like she has the potential to be one of those next big stars, and then so does Hunter Schafer, so does Jacob Elordi. Like, that ensemble cast of Euphoria has the next chance to be the next big name movie stars. And they should get a ton of credit for picking the right projects. Like, this is the right project for Sydney Sweeny to be doing at this point in her career. She's playing her first adult role. This is her first leading performance. This movie is just about people talking. It's not an action-packed. It's not a thriller. It is an acting showcase. It is the right choice for Sydney Sweeny, and I think it's going to get her a lot of recognition. I think it's one of the best performances of her career to this point. And it gets you excited for those other movies that are on the way. Now, more people will watch that romantic comedy with Glenn Powell. The one thing that Sydney Sweeny has going for her right now is she has never been a part of something I thought was bad. She's been in Euphoria. She's been in The White Lotus, 2 of the best TV shows of the last 5 years. She's been in Reality, a really good, smaller movie. She has never been in anything bad. And if she continues that run, that could lead to her having a long career as a movie star. The next next big thing for her is having that box office hit, because it's how you really establish yourself as someone who people will pay to see you act. Will the Black Widow movie be a massive hit? Will the romantic comedy be a massive hit? If she gets one of those, then I think she really is on her way to being one of the faces of modern Hollywood. Reality is an excellent start to that because it shows her range as a performer. Now you have many projects you can look at and say, I'm seeing a different Sydney Sweeny in all of these. Euphoria is different from The White Lotus, which is different from Reality. What Zendaya has is 2 franchises in Spider-Man and Dune. It will be interesting to see if Sydney Sweeny gets one of those franchises. I really don't think that that's going to end up being Madam Web, but stranger things have happened. Thanks for listening to this edition of Pop Culture Spotlight. I'm Cameron McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Thursday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I highly recommend you check out the movie Reality. And next week on the podcast, I'm talking about the movie Showing Up, starring Michelle Williams, Hong Chow, John Magaro, and Judd Hirsch, written and directed by Kelly Reichardt. So tune into that, and please rate, review, and subscribe.